like this and want more, then check out the JARcast live stream every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time on the Jacob Anders Review YouTube channel, where you can also find movie reviews every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can also listen to the entire podcast on all major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google, and iTunes. So if you prefer audio, whichever one is your preferred, check it out there. Once again, I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay sexy, YouTube. It's not funny because somebody, if they haven't already, will definitely be losing their job, and that is for an upcoming release, a big release that is coming to HBO Max. If you don't know about it, I'm talking about the Snyder Cut, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, accidentally released early for about an hour on HBO Max last night on Monday. Let's get into this story here. Let's see what they say. The long-awaited Snyder Cut of the superhero movie Justice League was accidentally released on streaming service HBO Max on Monday before being removed. Customers who were attempting to access the new, of all things, Tom and Jerry movie found that instead the service played Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is due to be released on the 19th of March, which is about a week and a half away. One user reported on social media that more than an hour of the film, which has an official runtime of 242 minutes, was screened. After the film was removed from HBO Max, takedown notices were reportedly sent to social media users who had posted screenshots of the film. What? Wow. Why couldn't, here's the funny thing is last night, which this happened last night. Last night, I was sitting here in my living room, and I was doing some stuff, and I was looking. I just wanted to put something on the TV, which apparently that's what this guy was doing. The main guy they're talking, it was more than one guy, but the main guy who reported most of this stuff, just some Joe Blow guy, he was doing some work and turned on Tom and Jerry in the background for noise, and that's when he got the Justice League. I was thinking of doing the same thing last night, and I had HBO Max on because we've been watching a lot of that since we recently subscribed to it around when Wonder Woman came out. It is a really good service, by the way. I like a lot of the stuff they have on there. But that pops up, because that's their new movie, so it pops up on the front page, and I almost hit that. I don't know what time this was that this happened, but last night, around not midnight, but probably like 8, 9 o'clock, I was sitting here and I was doing some stuff on my computer, just getting things ready, and I saw that movie, and I almost clicked on it. I almost wonder, if I had clicked on it, could I have seen the first hour of the Justice League, or Zack Snyder's Justice League? That's really cool. But how the fuck does this happen? I guess it's just like anything else. You just mix up the files that, when people click on that, it routes to, instead of Tom and Jerry, somebody accidentally put the Justice League in. I guess that's how it happens. But damn it, man, that's a really big fuck up. Somebody is probably going to lose their job over that. Maybe. Some people are actually saying that that's not what it is. Some people are saying that it was Warner Brothers who did it on purpose because they're mad about the movie, because there was this thing about Warner Brothers originally. The reason we got the Justice League that we got was because Warner Brothers did want Zack Snyder out. They wanted Justice League to go another direction, more of the MCU direction, and they used that tragedy he had to push him out. All that. We're not going to get into all that. But there was some contention from Warner Brothers about his vision and where he was going with the Justice League originally. So some people are saying, oh, this was them just still mad trying to put it out there and make it look bad. But that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I get that maybe, what was this, 5 years ago, there may have been some people there that were like that. If those same people are even there now, why would they do that? That would be sabotaging themselves. They have given this man $70 million more to finish this movie. Even if they fucking hate this movie, doing that to try and make it look bad, which we'll get to why I don't think that's the case more so in a minute, but doing that to make him look bad or make this movie look bad, that's petty. That's some high school bullshit. This is a company, which I know a company is run by people, but this is a company that wants money. And that's not how you make money. You make money by, no matter what you think of the product, you hype it up and say it's the best thing ever. I don't think they did this on purpose. If it was done on purpose, it was not done on purpose, because according to reports, the most that was seen of it was 1 hour, and then it was taken down. So somebody out there has seen an hour of his cut of the movie. And on a side note of that, the guy who did actually see it, who was giving these, reporting all this stuff, he's just a regular guy, not a reporter, he said it was awesome. He said it seemed great. It was really cool. And he posted pictures and stuff from the movie. They're like cell phone footage and stuff like that. But he said it was just awesome. It was really cool. So the only way I would think that they accidentally did this would be to drum up more noise about it, to get people talking about it, because here it comes, big thing. Just put out a little sliver, let whoever's on there in the moment maybe get a little taste of it, and hopefully talk it up and it'd be a positive thing. I don't think it was done to be a negative thing. That's a lot of conspiracy theorists, because that makes no sense. That just makes no sense. No matter how much they dislike it or like it, it doesn't matter. It is their property. It's their business. They're doing this to make money. Everyone's like, oh, they finally listen to the fans. No, they listen to all the fans because they saw dollar signs. That's why they're doing this. So it makes no sense that they would try and sabotage themselves. That's ridiculous. Just to get back at Zack Snyder. Why? There's no reason for that. They could have just not ever released it if that's the case, because they've pumped a shit ton of money into this thing. And they're hoping that it will bring subscribers to their service. If they put it out there and said, oh, it's a piece of shit, then those subscribers aren't going to come. So, no, I don't think that. I think it was either a dumbass mistake, which is probably what it was, or if it was intentional, it was just to drum up publicity. It was to get people talking about it some more, because people have been talking about this a lot. I mean, I'm pretty sure that every show I've done for at least the past 3 weeks has mentioned the Justice League, Snyder Cut Justice League somewhere. So it's working. I mean, they're riding this hype train all the way to March 19th or 18th. Whatever. I think it says 19th here, but I swear it said 18th in some of the promotional material. Either way, it's coming. The thing I took away from it the most, besides this is just funny that it got actually released on their site early. How the fuck do you do that, man? But anyway, the thing that I took away from it was the guy, just a regular everyday guy, was saying, hey, what I saw was really cool. So I like that. That makes me feel better about it, because we're all wondering, we've been clamoring for this thing for so long, and the people that were really into it have been hollering and yelling from the rooftops about, give us the Snyder Cut, and they're getting it. So you're like, okay, all this hoopla, if you will, about this movie, is it going to be worth it? What happens if it comes out and it just fucking sucks? But I don't think that's going to be the case. And this guy's comments about it make me feel a little bit better about it. So I'm looking forward to the 18th, 19th, whichever day it is that's coming out. It's probably going to be like the night of the 18th. That's what I'm thinking, 18th. But I'm looking forward to it, and this makes me a little bit happier about it. Moving on from there, we are not getting too far away from the Snyder Cut or the Justice League stuff, because we got a little bit more on Justice League. That's not all we got. And that would be... Whoops. Sorry. There's more... Well, there's tons of Justice League news in the news this week, and there probably will be until it releases. But apart from that, there is apparently been released, and I think it was released by Snyder himself, more stuff about the Justice League 2 and 3 that supposedly, which we all knew that was, a thing. I mean, that was his plan all along. I thought it was either 2 or 3 movies. Apparently it was 3 movies. And there's been more stuff that's been put out, I guess, since this isn't happening now. I do know that the actual Snyder Cut we're getting apparently has some of this stuff built into it, but not as much of it. Now, I'm just going to skim some of this. I'm not going to go over it, because there is a lot of information for this. They kind of just dumped it all out there. They had an outline for the whole trilogy already done, like a lot of details into it, like concept art, everything, all kinds of stuff. And you can see all that online. but I'm just going to kind of skim over a few of the bullet points on it so that we can talk about those and discuss for a second. They said a string of storyboards for the unmade Justice League sequels have arrived on social media, giving fans some clues what Zack Snyder had planned for Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. Adding to the legitimacy of the storyboards, Twitter has removed the images due to copyright issues, which would mean that they were indeed the property of Warner Media and Warner Brothers Pictures. But you can still find them online. I mean, it's not hard to find. Once something's online, it's never gone. They're fairly easily accessible. I didn't put them on here partly for that. Plus, there's just so many of them. We could do a whole show just going over that stuff. It is a ton of information on this thing. They said some of the more interesting elements in Justice League 2 would have seen Lex Luthor recruit multiple villains such as Dr. Poison, Black Manta, Ocean Master, Captain Cold, and the Riddler for the Legion of Doom. The last two characters would have seemingly been introduced in The Flash and The Batman, respectively, before those projects got sidelined or revamped. Yeah, the Flash movie, God knows what's going on with that. Supposedly it's still being made. The Batman, of course, is still being made, but it's been through a ton of changes. Ben Affleck was originally going to make that movie. He's going to direct it and star in it, which I thought that would have been really cool. I think Ben Affleck's a great director. But it's apparently changed. Like, its whole perspective has changed. It's not the same movie anymore, besides the actual name. Furthermore, the Legion would have killed Wonder Woman and Aquaman, with the Riddler killing himself after solving the anti-life equation. The Riddler would have been the main villain in Ben Affleck's version of the Batman. You know, that's interesting they say that there, because if you look at the Batman trailer that we have now, and I assume that parts of all of the original The Batman are in the one that we're going to get to some degree, a lot of people were wondering, saying, you know, they think that the Riddler is a part of that, but it hasn't been officially announced, or he's not in. Well, I think it's been announced, but, you know, the trailer we got, the very rough, like, kind of in-production trailer we got, didn't specifically show anything about the Riddler just in your face about it. So I wonder if, like, the Riddler is going to be the main villain in that, even though Penguin and I think Catwoman and some other one. There's been other people said to be in it, but I wonder how big of a role they'll play. Anyway, we'd also see Lex Luthor being killed by Superman's heat vision as he was under control of Darkseid. Cyborg seeing half his body ripped in half when trying to help Flash against Captain Cold. Justice League 3 would have seen the Flash going back in time to fix all the superheroes' deaths. And Zack Snyder's Justice League will debut on HBO Max March 18th. See, March 18th, told you. So yeah, there's a lot, and there's so much more than that. There's so much more than that you can look up online. I mean, it talks about, like, Wonder Woman and Batman going off to the Amazon and stuff, and how she goes back home, and that's where she dies in her mother's arms. And, like, they're recruiting, or they're looking for the Legion of Doom. Apparently, when Batman died, when Superman died in, you know, BVS, after that, Batman and Lois Lane got together and formed a relationship, became in love. But then when Superman came back, she was torn. It's supposed to be this, like, love triangle between them. She's pregnant, and it's apparently Batman or Bruce Wayne's baby. She dies at one point. I think Darkseid disintegrates her or something like that. And Batman, I don't think he dies. I think he dies. Batman's supposed to die in the end of Justice League 3, like sacrificing himself, I think is what it said. Just all kinds of information. Tons and tons of stuff. Just nutty, crazy, insane stuff. And, like, the third one, I guess, was going to take place in that nightmare zone in the future, and we were going to see flashbacks to it, like, or flash forwards to it throughout the series and stuff. It's just crazy. They had this, like, very detailed outline. You can check it all out. I thought this was pretty cool. I mean, this is less of a story and more of, like, an informational thing. Do I think that this is going to happen? No. Regardless of how, I mean, you never know. I mean, if the Snyder Cut is, like, insanely popular, who knows what they'll do. I mean, where the other movies have left off at this point since the actual Justice League movie, the theatrical cut came out, I think they can still break off and make these happen. They haven't. There's been Aquaman which didn't really do much to change, the overall world. Wonder Woman 84, which is in the past, so it doesn't matter. And I think that's it. That's all we've gotten. Now, they are working on some other movies, and who knows what's in those movies and where they're at, if they're all just going to branch off. I don't know. I'd love to see this. I mean, there's some stuff in it I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like the whole love triangle thing, I get what they're doing there, but I don't know how I feel about that. But, I mean, it's all interesting stuff. That's for damn sure. I do find it funny that this... Now, I don't know as much about the comic books for like Marvel versus DC, like what specifically had, like super detailed into the comic books. But if you look at what they're talking about here for Justice League 3, they kind of cap it off. There's a lot more information about it online, as I said, but here in this article I have, it just says Justice League 3 would have seen the Flash going back in time to fix all the superhero deaths. I assume he may have taken somebody with him, or he would have gone back and worked with them. I don't know, but it would have been a time travel movie and reversing things that happened in the previous one. Does that sound familiar? It should, because it sounds like fucking Endgame, which this would have been their Endgame, the third team-up movie, the third Avenger, well, actually the fourth Avengers, but it was, the second part of the third one. I think that's really interesting, and some people, I actually saw online somebody saying it's, sounds like a ripoff of Endgame. This was written out before Endgame. Well, before Endgame released. Endgame came out in 2019. This was at least put together, or at very latest 2016. That's when they filmed the movie. So all this was put together then, if not before. So either A, this is one of those situations where two different studios are having a very similar idea. Like, we get that every few years, volcano movies or big comet movies or asteroid movies, whatever, that kind of thing. Or they did it first. That wouldn't be too out of line, because if you look in the past, regardless if you're a DC fan or if you're a Marvel fan, that's kind of been their history. They do a lot of the same things. And honestly, I mean, the facts of the matter is a lot of cases, especially when it comes to characters, DC did do a lot of things before Marvel, and then Marvel came in and picked it up. And that's just facts. That's not like a fanboy thing. I am not a fanboy for either one. I do think that DC has better characters, more interesting characters, but I think Marvel has done a much better job with their cinematic universe. Absolutely it has. We'll see what happens moving forward. But anyway, like I said, man, this is just a bunch of stuff. Go check it out. There's all kinds of cool stuff, like Batman going evil. And apparently Batman being controlled by Darkseid, is going to possibly be part of this Snyder Cut we're getting. So Black Superman is coming. We do know that. And I think that part of the movie, he may be controlled by Darkseid and be like, doing bad things. We'll see. Who knows? Nobody knows. I mean, I guess somebody out there knows what an hour of it is from our previous story, but nobody really knows exactly what's going on. This is some interesting shit, though. If you're into Justice League, or if you like the DCU, or if you just like to see what could have been, just look this up. You can find just loads and loads of information. It's all just really interesting. It's got some really cool concept art to it, too. Some really good-looking concept art that just kind of piques your brain and it gets you interested. I would like to see something really deep and just epic like this happen. I think it could be cool. Could be. I didn't say it would be. Could be cool. But I highly doubt that, regardless of how popular the Snyder or Zack Snyder's Justice League is, I doubt. Who knows? But I doubt that we're ever going to see these movies. But that's just my opinion. Who knows? I mean, studios have done crazier things, like releasing 5 years later a 4-hour cut of a 2-hour movie that's pretty much been totally recut. So yeah, crazier things happen. So moving on from DC, we're going to jump into a little bit of Marvel news real quick. And this will be interesting to Marvel fans, especially those of you that are looking forward to your next Marvel TV series fix after WandaVision having just finished up here recently. And we're going to talk about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier and some interesting news that came out about it. And it's being, the headlines are saying that there will be no season 2 for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I don't know. I don't think that that's entirely true. I think they're being very coy with the way that they're phrasing that. I think that's all in the way that they're phrasing it, honestly. Let's read this and then we'll discuss. In a recent profile of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier star Anthony Mackie in Variety, the outlet reports that while bound by standard Marvel-grade secrecy, the actor confirms there have been no discussions of a second season for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Last week, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige explained that the show would only be 6 episodes as opposed to the 9 episodes we'll see for WandaVision. 6 hours is what we landed on as the best way to tell our story, he told Deadline. 6 hours, whether it is 6 episodes or 9 shorter episodes like WandaVision, the shows aren't expensive, so the per episode cost is very high, and to get to the bar that I was talking about. By the way, when he's talking about the first season of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is 6 hours, whether it's 6 episodes or not, but the first episode, or the first season of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier reportedly cost a cool $150 million. Holy shit. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Season 1 premieres on Disney Plus on March 19th. That's funny. I just realized that. It's premiering the same day that Zack Snyder's Justice League is. I just realized that. Anyway, so after reading this and looking into it, and there are more like little snippets here and there, but ultimately they're saying no discussions for a Season 2. So clearly that means no Season 2, right? No. I don't think that's the case. There's a couple of things to look at here, or a couple of different directions to look at it. You could look at it like, oh, they haven't talked about it, so there's not going to be one, because typically they would be talking about a Season 2 by the time the show is coming out, at least. Maybe it's that they want to see how the show's going to do, but I don't even think that's it, because I think they already know this show's going to do well. They know that there's a demand for this. They know that people are going to tune in, and they're going to want to see this, because this show looks as if it's going to be more Marvel than WandaVision was. Me, myself, I haven't seen WandaVision yet. I was waiting for it all to end before I would give it a watch. Plus, I just honestly wasn't super hyped about it. I've heard good things. I'll say I haven't heard anything bad. I've heard people say, oh, yeah, it's good. And then I've heard other people say, it's all right. So, but I haven't heard anybody just be like, oh, that was total dog shit. So that's good. I will give it a watch. It seems like an interesting idea. But it does seem like that. It's kind of like departure. It sounds like it's more of a departure from the average Marvel thing. This Falcon and the Winter Soldier looks like it is very much in line with the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we've all come to know and some love. So I think that they know that this show is going to do well. So I don't think that that's why. I don't think they're waiting to see what the ratings will be before they, greenlight a second season. But I think maybe it's because this show, what I think and what I think should happen are two different things. I think that this show is going to have a change because, Captain America in the end of Endgame gave it to the Falcon. He gave it to Anthony Mackie's character and said, take on the shield or whatever. Or maybe it was to both of them. I can't remember. He gave the shield away and said, I'm not Captain America anymore. And, of course, someone else is going to take up that mantle. Everyone's assuming it will be Anthony Mackie. But there has been this debate of which one of these two gets the shield. Who's going to become Captain America? And maybe by the end of this show, we figure that out. And then the next season or the next show that has these characters in it isn't necessarily called The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Maybe it's Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or The Falcon and Captain America, or something like, or just a totally different name, but it's kind of the same, following the same story. I do think, obviously, these characters are going to return, but I'm not opposed to the idea of this just being a mini-series. I think people have gotten away from that a bit. What's wrong with just having a compelling story that they wanted to tell that takes 6 hours to tell, and instead of making, the longest movie ever or a few, movies to tell the story, they make it a high dollar or high production show like this. There's nothing wrong with that. Why not go that route? I mean, I'm if there isn't a season 2, I'd be okay with that. Maybe it goes right into the movies. It made sense to tell this story. They needed more time than a 2-hour or 3-hour movie would allow them. There's nothing wrong with that. Go for it. And I mean, at $150 million per very short season, 6 hours of content, that ain't cheap. They're going to have to see a hell of a return on that. Now, I do think that this show was greenlit and all the finances were put together about it, and it was even shooting, I'm pretty sure, at least a good bit of it, before the pandemic. So then it probably made more sense to them because they, now their cinematic universe isn't going to pull in as much money because of theaters and all that. So maybe, they could afford to blow $150 million here to hype up their cinematic universe. I don't know, man. Will there be a second season of this? I think so. I haven't seen one single frame of this show, but I think that there will be. I think they're being coy with it. I think that they haven't had talks, because they're very specific when they say it, to say they haven't had discussions of a second season for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They never say for the show or the characters or just a second season. They always say for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Because I think if there is a second season, or if it continues on in TV form, it's just going to be named differently. Or maybe it is just a miniseries, and I'm honestly totally okay with that. I think a lot of people are. That's the thing about some of these Marvel properties. They take them and they kind of run them into the ground. If they have a story to tell, just tell that story. If it's popular, great. Move on. These characters are going to live on within the MCU and in the, I don't know what they call their TV version of it, because I guess they're still cinematic to a degree, but you know what I mean? There's no need to make a season 2 if you don't have a story to tell. I did like that, and I don't know if it's all financial, that Kevin Feige, and when it comes to all the people at Disney and all the things that they do, I don't love where I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is moving now, honestly. But I do think that Kevin Feige is one of the more okay people that work over there. He's clearly a businessman. He's there to make money. But he's made some decisions. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. But I think that he has his ear to the ground. He's more in tune with what people want and need, more than some of the other people out there that work at Disney. So I feel pretty good about him still being in charge. But I like what he said here, where he said, what was it? Here it is. 6 hours is what we landed on as the best way to tell our story. Now, clearly, he could have done 10 episodes of this, 9 episodes. The WandaVision was 9 episodes. He could have done 9 episodes, and people would have ate it up. I mean, it's Marvel. At this point right now, they would have ate it up. But he's saying that, maybe we don't do that. We're going to do 6, or at least 6 hours worth. It's going to be less content than WandaVision was, because that's how long we need to tell the story. Makes me feel like they're not going to make it bloated just to make more money, to squeeze more time and money and subscribers out of them. I think that's good. That is, in my mind, or at least the way I looked at it, that's a good view. I appreciate them not just making something just to make money. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, that's what they're here to do, but I feel like, there's at least still somewhat of a creative process and an art to it, at least for the story they want to tell. Whether that story is worth telling and worth sitting around for 6 hours to watch, we'll find out over the course of the next 6 weeks, I suppose, 6, or unless they do 9 short episodes. We'll find out here soon, though, that's for sure. And then I assume after the show's over, we may find out if there's going to be a sequel. I do wonder if maybe one of the other reasons they haven't announced any kind of, not sequel, but season 2 plans is, if there's a season 2 that's coming, say, in 2022, if these characters are a part of another movie that's supposed to come out before season 2, you already know, okay, well, they're good. I don't have to worry about them. There's nothing you can do in that movie to build any type of tension as to whether these characters may perish or not, because they're good. We know that they're going to be in that show because it's fucking named after them. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I feel like people are just taking this definitively and running with it and saying, oh, no, see, there's no season 2. I don't think that's necessarily what it is. It's all in the wording. And that's the kind of games these places play. But we're going to talk about wording and its importance here in just a little bit again, because that was a bit of a thing this week, with big companies using interesting wording and taking it from there. But on to something just a little bit simpler. We're going to jump right into this next one, and that is, more big movies are sliding the hell out of the way and getting out of there and saying, we're not quite ready to come to theaters. We got a couple of big profile flicks that, no surprise, have shifted, and one that shifted the other way around. It says Fast 9, or F9, will now drift into theaters. That's so corny. On June 25th, 2021, which is a little less than 1 month later than its previous date of May 28th, 2021. That's not that big a deal. That's just a hair shy of a month delay. That's not a big deal. I don't think that. I think that is more them reading the landscape and saying, okay, more theaters are starting to open up. They're seeing the opportunity for things to open up and giving it just a little bit more time for people to feel comfortable to get out there. I don't think this means that Fast 9 is going to make as much as the previous Fast movies did in theaters, because even if they open everything up and it's been open a while, I don't think as many people are going to go out to theaters. But either way, this one's a little bit bigger, though. Meanwhile, Illumination Entertainment's Minions: The Rise of Gru will now arrive in theaters on July 1st, 2022. Holy shit. Moving all the way back from July 2nd of this year. While vaccine projections indicate there will be enough for every American adult by the end of May, it will likely be much longer before the distribution is able to keep up with that supply. The longer still before every child in the country is able to be vaccinated. This one actually makes sense to me. I mean, the Fast 9 one does too, to a degree. I mean, honestly, I'd just release the damn thing, because they're going to be coming to streaming, I think, 45 days after or something like that. But either way, this one does make sense, because Minions sequel, that's totally a kid's movie. I don't know many adults, not to say there's none, but not many adults are just going to, be going to see Minions by themselves, unless there's some creeper or something. But unless that's your thing. If that's your thing and you're an adult, hey, no judgment here. But I understand that the vast majority, 99.99999% of the people that go to this are going to be children, and if those kids aren't vaccinated, most people are not going to feel comfortable taking their children out and sitting in a theater, or at least a ton of them aren't going to. So this makes sense. Delaying it a whole nother year may sound pretty crazy, but I mean, look how long. Do any of us think last March that we'd be sitting here March the next year kind of in the same situation we were in last year as far as like things closed down and all that? No, I don't think if they release this on July 1st, which just think it's right around the corner, or July 2nd, I'm sorry, of this year, I do not think Minions would do very well. Even with its release on Paramount Plus, I think it's Paramount Plus is what it would be coming to 45 days later. In the reverse of that, though, A Quiet Place 2 will now open on Memorial Day weekend, May 28th, 2021. This move takes it off of its September 17th, 2021 slot, which was the film's new release date after several delays due to the pandemic. So Quiet Place is actually going the opposite direction. They started out way down there in September, which that movie was actually supposed to come out about a year ago now. It was one of the last movies that was actually, I think the week that they shut down theaters, that they locked the country down, that's when, here in the States at least, that's when it was slated to come out. There were people that actually already had tickets and everything. I want to say March, I think this was April. So it would have been delayed by more than a year by the time it's going to come out. But now they're saying it is going to come out Memorial Day weekend, May 28th. That's cool. That's a popular one. I think Quiet Place. I know it says they also said last week in Paramount Plus, when Paramount Plus had its big investor day, it was announced that films like A Quiet Place Part 2 would get a 45-day theatrical window before arriving on the streaming service. That's apparently different, because originally when Paramount was doing the rounds on this whole thing about like streaming, they wanted to do day in, day out, or day of, like HBO Max and some Disney Plus things are doing, but the theaters were kind of like rioting about it, and they said, okay, we'll do, I think it was 17 days or something like that. They're like, we'll release it in theaters for 17-day window, and then we'll release it at home. But now apparently they've stretched that out to 45 days, probably working with the theaters on that. So Quiet Place 2, though, I don't know how many people that's going to drag out to a theater. I mean, A Quiet Place is really popular, but that just strikes me as one of those movies that is not going to, like a regular climate maybe, but right now when people are already kind of, do I want to go to the theater or not? Maybe, yeah, vaccinations are there, masks, and things are better, but do I? And I think that, especially knowing that it's coming 45 days later, I feel like that's one of those ones that they should have probably just gone with a day and date and released it on Paramount Plus or wherever the hell they're going to release it. I think that would have been better for that movie. The Minions movie, I get that one. That's a big one. Kids will want to get out and see that. And Fast 9, the Fast and Furious movies, since they've always done well, but especially since I think Fast 5 or something like that, they've all done gangbusters. I think the last one did over $1 billion. The last one or two of them did over $1 billion. That's insane. The fucking Fast and the Furious. But anyway, lots of movies shifting around as usual. We've been seeing this for the past year. Hopefully now as things kind of wrap up, not that I think that the country is going to be totally, or the world really, is going to be totally back to normal and everything's going to be open. More and more states are just starting to open up and say, no, we're opening, we're ready, and we're gearing up to get back to remnants of normality at least. So hopefully we will see less and less of these shiftings of movies. I just wonder, how is this going to affect these VOD services that have been thriving over the past year due to this, and theaters? How are they going to be able to survive? Are they going to be able to, yes, even if they open back up, they're not going to be what it was before. It's going to be a while till we build back up to that, especially now that people have gotten a taste of watching these new movies at home. They're kind of like, I kind of like that. And they've given us this whole, hey, our movies will come day and date on streaming services, and now you just take that away. I just feel like some people are going to be like, what? No, you can't just take that away. What the hell? We'll find out, though. We'll see. I think over the summer that's going to be very telling. We'll see some of these larger movies come out. Black Widow, I think, is still supposedly scheduled for May, maybe June. I can't remember the exact date. We'll see if that one comes out or not. Who knows? But yeah, Fast 9, Quiet Place, and Minions shifting around. Hopefully it's some of the last that we'll see. So moving on from some movies shifting around and movies that are already made, we're going to talk about a movie, or really a property, a TV show, once started as a movie that is actually moving forward, that is just now starting and probably will be debuting hopefully way after this whole pandemic thing, or at least a lot of it has faded away. And we're talking about a property called The Talisman by Stephen King, of all people. And we're talking about a tale of two Stephens, actually. We're talking about Stephen King and America's storyteller himself, Steven Spielberg. And this is something I was not aware of, this long love affair he's had with this property, apparently. But let's jump into this. It says Steven Spielberg has been trying to adapt Stephen King and Peter Straub's fantasy horror novel, The Talisman, since before it was even published. Now, all these years later, and after many false starts, it looks like it's finally happening with the help of Netflix. Shocker. Spielberg's Amblin Television will work with Paramount Television Studios and executive producers, the Duffer Brothers from Stranger Things, to bring The Talisman to Netflix, with Stranger Things writer Curtis Gwynn serving as showrunner. Written by Stephen King and Peter Straub, and published in 1984, The Talisman is a fantasy horror novel about a kid named Jack Sawyer who ends up in the alternate universe called the Territories. I've heard of this book, but I've never read it. And King is one of my favorite writers. He writes fantastic books, by the way. Even if you don't love all the stories, he's just a great writer. You go from a book that you think is like, oh, that's a pretty good book, like its writing style, and you read his writing style. He is just a phenomenal writer. He's extremely detailed in his writing. It's just some really great books. He's got some great works. I think he's got to have something for everybody. But let's look at a synopsis of this thing, because I wasn't familiar with the actual story. It sounds interesting. It says, why had 12-year-old Jack Sawyer's mother frantically moved? the two of them from Rodeo Drive to a New York City apartment in the Alhambra. What? Oh, Alhambra. I can't read today. A fading ocean resort and shuttered amusement park in New Hampshire. Who or what is she running from? She is dying, and even young Jack knows she can't outrun death. But only he can save her, for he has been chosen to search for a prize across an epic landscape of dangers and lies, a realm of innocence and monsters, where everything Jack loves is on the line. So that's the synopsis. This is pretty vague. It sounds like kind of like from his gunslinger stories, where Jake, not Jack, is pulled out of this world and taken into another fantasy-esque world and goes on an adventure, but no mom to save there. But yeah, I mean, I can't comment on the original story. I've heard of it. I don't know anything beyond what you guys now know there. But anytime we're adapting a Stephen King story, I'm happy. I love his works, and I'm happy to see Steven Spielberg, who I highly respect as well, and the Duffer Brothers, which did great things with Stranger Things. I'm really happy to see them, putting this thing together. Since it was written in 1984, I'm assuming it does take place in the 80s, whether this movie or show, rather, will, who knows. But if it does, I think the Duffer Brothers are a great pair, and even Steven Spielberg are a great pair to put together there to make this thing and bring it to light, because they clearly did a great job with that era with Stranger Things. I think it apparently was going to be a movie at first, and Stephen King wanted to direct it, but now he's not directing it. But you know what? He may not be behind the camera directly, but he's back there making some moves, and I don't feel like he would have championed for something this long and it not be pretty good. He has to see something in this, and I assume he's going to put his might and his name behind it. That says something. I mean, Steven Spielberg, say what you will about him, the guy's made some of the greatest movies ever made. Jaws. He made Jaws. That's all you need to know. He made fucking Jaws. But yeah, not the biggest story, and that's all it is. I mean, we just know some of the people that are involved, and that's it. It's very early here, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested about the Talisman. I think it could be. I like I said, Stephen King, I trust what he writes. Even if you don't love the guy and you don't love all of his works, there's got to be something in his repertoire that you would enjoy. So anything that his name is attached to, I'm at least willing to give a chance. And these guys, I mean, everything else just works. The Duffer Brothers, Steven Spielberg, Stephen King. I mean, what's not to love here? I'm looking forward to seeing this. It says it's coming to Netflix. Netflix has been putting some money behind their projects and their movies, their original movies and original shows. They put some real money behind it, so they don't look cheap. So, yeah, hopefully this will be good. I'm thinking it will be. I'm interested to check it out. Moving from there, we're going to talk about another what-if situation, and we're moving on to the X-Men universe that, by the way, this X-Men universe does not exist anymore. And that would be the Hugh Jackman Wolverine X-Men universe. And what we're talking about real quick is, at one point in time, there could have been Lee Daniels X-Men. For those of you that don't know who Lee Daniels is, he is the creator of Precious, among other movies. And apparently, because of Precious, at some point in time, he was up in the air to make an X-Men / Wolverine movie. How they got there, I don't know. But, well, I mean, it explains why they got there, but how the person who recommended him got there, who knows? I thought Precious was a really good movie, but X-Men? But let's jump into this. In a recent interview with Collider, to promote his latest film, The United States versus Billie Holiday, Daniels told of the time Hugh Jackman liked Daniels' Oscar-winning film Precious so much he got him a pitch meeting with Fox to discuss an X-Men movie. A lot of actors, and this is coming from Daniels himself, a lot of actors call me. I remember after I did Precious, Hugh Jackman called and wanted me to do a Wolverine movie. And he sent me into the studio to Fox. I guess that's where they do them at, Daniel said. And I had never done a studio film before, and it was a disaster. And I literally pulled over afterwards. Yeah, it was at Fox because I pulled over at the Kentucky Fried Chicken afterwards and ate a whole 6-pack of wings. It was the worst meeting of my life. I don't know how he gets I don't know how he gets Wolverine from Precious, but I love him and he's a friend to this day. I pitched and I pitched and I pitched my way right out of the room, he added. This isn't like a big, huge news story. I just thought this was kind of funny because I'm with Daniels on this. How the fuck did Hugh Jackman get Wolverine from Precious? I mean, Precious was a great movie. It really, truly was. It didn't have an agenda or anything like that. It was just that was a heartbreaking movie. It was super real and gritty. That was a great, great, great movie. It truly was. But I did not say, man, I think this guy, based on this movie and this movie alone, superhero. Even more so than that, Wolverine. I get why Hugh Jackman went to Wolverine because he is fucking Wolverine, or was then. But how does Precious translate to action movie? I mean, I don't get it. Not saying that Lee Daniels couldn't make an action movie. He probably could. He seems like a talented guy, but I don't get that from I don't see Precious and say action movie. That's what we need to do next. I mean, damn, it's crazy. And he apparently, that would suck because he apparently had never dealt with the studio, so he goes in there and just bombs totally for a fucking X-Men movie. What the fuck? This is just a really, really bizarre thing that Hugh Jackman did here. And as I said, it's not a big, huge, long story, but I thought it was really interesting that Hugh fucking Jackman thought that Lee Daniels should have made the next X-Men / Wolverine movie. This would have been, by the way, around the time that, I don't know if it was out yet. It was either coming out or they were developing it, the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. That's cinematic gold right there with our first introduction to Deadpool and all that. So whether he was pitching that or I think the next one after that was the actual Wolverine, the first Wolverine movie. He was apparently in the running for one of those. So when it comes to the Wolverine, I thought the Wolverine was pretty good. So, could he have done that better or not? I don't know. Who knows? Could he have done X-Men Origins Wolverine better? Probably. Because that was really botched. And the funny thing is the director of that movie, that is kind of funny. It actually makes sense now. Because the director of Wolverine, X-Men Origins, Wolverine, whatever the fuck it's called, that movie, probably one of the worst X-Men movies, was, what was his name? Gavin Hood, I think it was. And Gavin Hood's movie prior to that was a South African film called Tsotsi, I believe it was. Which is very much a like realistic, gritty drama like Precious. It's very much in line with that type of film. Not a lot of action or any of that. It's just very much like that, and it was critically acclaimed. It was a really good movie, by the way. But apparently, I bet that is what I bet they were pitching that. I bet they were having Daniels pitch that to them, and I'm like, instead they got Gavin Hood. Which, I mean, if he's any indication, I guess Lee Daniels' version would have turned out like that too. I don't know. That movie was fucking terrible. I don't know. I don't give a shit who made it, really. Whoever made it did a really bad job. But he went on to make Ender's Game after that, and regardless of how it did at the box office, I really enjoyed Ender's Game. But yeah, Lee Daniels' X-Men, as crazy as it sounds, was almost a thing. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about an upcoming movie that has been like 20-something years in the making. Whether it should have been or not is up for debate, depending on who you are, I suppose. Me, myself, I'm kind of on the fence. And this news here is, well, let's just jump into it, and we'll see what you guys think about it, and I'll talk about it a bit. I am talking about the first real concrete news we have gotten about Space Jam 2. Also known as Space Jam: A New Legacy. Before I give you my thoughts on Space Jam 2 or a Space Jam sequel, regardless of what they call it, let's read through this rather lengthy story that I have cut down quite a bit, but they give quite a few details about what this movie is going to entail, and I don't know, man. let's just jump into it real quick and we'll discuss afterwards. This is coming from Entertainment Weekly because they just did a big spread on it where they just vomited out tons of information. Entertainment Weekly has a full cover story on Space Jam: A New Legacy, where they finally reveal how LeBron James ends up entangled with the Looney Tunes for another epic game of basketball. As James puts it, it's one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game I've ever played in. In Space Jam: A New Legacy, LeBron James plays a heightened version of himself with a fictional family. There's a 16-year-old Cedric Joe. There's a 16-year-old Cedric Joe as LeBron's son, Dom. Oh, okay. Cedric Joe is the actor. I'm sorry. Cedric Joe playing LeBron James' son, Dom. Sierra Wright as older son, Darius. Harper Lee Alexander as daughter, Zoja. And Senqua Martin Green from Star Trek Discovery as wife, Camilla. The crux of the movie is LeBron having a hard time relating with Dom, who's much more interested in creating games than playing them. Dom's tech skills draw the attention of a CGI humanoid named Algorithm, played by Don Cheadle. One thing leads to another, and LeBron and Dom somehow get sucked into the Warner 3000 Entertainment serververse. I am not making this up. I'm reading it verbatim. Which is chock full of Warner Brothers characters. It is said that the likes of Batman and King Kong can be spotted courtside when the big game unfolds. And there will be references to The Matrix, Wonder Woman, Mad Max, and Casablanca, just to name a few. Almost done. Algorithm is keeping Dom in the serververse in order to steal some of LeBron's followers on social media, and apparently the only way to get Dom back and stop this AI villain, is with a game of basketball. Of course it is. In order to save his son and escape this intellectual property hellhole, LeBron James has to round up the Looney Tunes, including a banished Bugs Bunny, to defeat a new team of villains called the Goon Squad. Director Malcolm D. Lee says, and this is pretty bold, Space Jam: A New Legacy is a better movie than Space Jam. Well, that was a lot. So they just put it all out there, I guess. So the way I feel about Space Jam, people have been clamoring for, clamoring might not be the right word, but they've been talking about a Space Jam sequel for years, pretty much since the first Space Jam. And it's back and forth, and so many different people have been attached to it, and supposedly it's happening, supposedly it's not, blah, 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 blah. Now it's happening, and I don't know, man. I just don't know. Space Jam was a special kind of movie. It was just this one, I feel like it was a one-off. It was just kind of like this weird little idea that shouldn't have worked, but just did. The performances in it weren't perfect, but they just kind of worked. Like with Michael Jordan, not the greatest actor, but is just running off straight charisma, and it just worked. It was just weird and kooky enough, and the idea was kind of out there enough to work, and it just did. It was lightning in a bottle. I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate that. This does not sound like that movie. This sounds like, I don't know, Ready Player One with Looney Tunes. It sounds like they're going to cram in as many things in the background as they possibly can so that while you're watching it, and I'm afraid you're going to be watching it not really interested in the story that much, but you're going to be more interested in what's going on in the background. Oh, there's King Kong, there's Neo, there's they said Wonder Woman, and if Wonder Woman's in it, I mean Batman and Superman, and I just feel like it's going to be something like that. And a movie that recently, besides Ready Player One, obviously, that more recently did that, but did it good, was the Lego movie. It had all that stuff going on, but that was a fun movie. It was an interesting movie. It was entertaining. You could tell there was some love behind it. And this might be, it doesn't sound great, honestly. I ain't going to lie, it does not sound great. But it might work out great. It might come out and I'll be like, oh, well, yeah, that was really fun. It was entertaining. It was very clever. But from what I'm reading, I'm not blown away. The whole thing, jump into a little bit of the specifics here. I don't know. I don't follow basketball. I don't follow any sports, honestly. But so of course, I know the name LeBron James. I know he plays basketball. I don't know much more beyond that. I know he's really good, and he's really, people say he's really good. Is this family based on his actual family? It does say they fictional family, so I guess not. Are any of these characters based on actual people? Is he married? Is his wife's name Camilla? I think that's what. Yeah, they said wife Camilla. Is that his wife's name in real life? I gotta ask if like any of these people are actually his kid. If he has like kids and a wife by this name, why didn't they play him? I mean, he's playing himself. I don't know. It does say fictional, so I assume they're all fictional. Maybe that's why. But this whole going into like the server verse, is it called it? I'm sorry, that is the server verse. That's really cringe to me. And this AI wanting to steal his followers off social media. What the fuck is that? Come on, really? That's the best we got? And he has to jump into a basketball game to defeat. I don't get it. I mean, granted, the first one was really out there and kind of crazy, so maybe it'll all work. Maybe it'll all come together. I will remain optimistic, but as I am with many movies like this, I will be cautiously optimistic because right now what I'm reading, I don't love. And I just feel like this is going to be a movie where he jumps in there and his son is like pulled away by this AI algorithm, and he's going to be like all about that guy. And LeBron James is going to have to come in and show him that, like, hey, I do love you, and I'm sorry I haven't paid attention to you, or something like that. And they're going to come together in the end, And it says banished Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny's banished. And apparently from the promotional material they have shown for it, all the characters are CGI now. They're not written or drawn. That was kind of one of the parts of that was the charm of the first one. It was like a callback to like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or even like the even further back Disney stuff where they had, I think it was it Mary Poppins and stuff like that where they had real characters interacting with the cartoons. I thought that was really cool. It was a new take on that. So I don't know, man. I don't feel good about this. And the story just doesn't. I mean, it's ultimately a family movie or a kids movie, however you want to put it. So they always kind of have these out there stories. This just sounds really try hard to me. It sounds like they're trying to be like hip and cool, and that's not what it is. Why not just go back to the original, the world that they were in the first one? Why do you have to go to the serververse and go get what's the point of getting the Looney Tunes in? The reason that they used the Looney Tunes in the first one was because that's where they went. Michael Jordan, well, actually, the Looney Tunes came and got him because they needed him because of the aliens. But they were in their world. What reason do the Looney Tunes have to leave their world and go to the serververse, whatever the fuck that is? I don't get it. And the biggest question of all to me, and maybe they tried and he said no, I don't know. Why make a sequel and not have... Why not have Michael Jordan? What's wrong with Michael Jordan? There's apparently some like discussion, some big debate online about who's the greatest basketball player ever, and it's between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I don't know how. I have no idea. And here's the thing about Michael Jordan. Like I said, I don't follow basketball. I never have. But I know Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is a enigma unto itself. I mean, I know who Michael Jordan is. I know Michael Jordan. I know things about him, even though I've never watched a basketball game with him in it before in my life. I know who he is. LeBron James, I don't. I know the name, but I don't know LeBron James. I mean, when he shows up in the movie, he might be fine. I mean, he might be great. I don't know as like an actor, but I don't know this man. He's not going to be able to, for me at least, to like play. Michael Jordan's character could play on himself, and I could find it funny because I knew Michael Jordan. Not know him personally, but you know what I mean. Michael Jordan is so damn big and so popular, or at least he was then, that even if you didn't follow sports, you knew so much about him. I don't feel that way about LeBron James. I mean, those of you that know more about him and are, have your ear to the ground more on sports and stuff may be like, what are you talking about? But I'm here to tell you, those of us that don't follow it, we don't know. And that's going to make it difficult to really get as invested with this movie. I just don't know why not go back to Michael Jordan. Regardless if people are saying LeBron James is a better player than him or not, I think that Michael Jordan is a bigger persona than LeBron James. I mean, I know Michael Jordan's not any younger now, but I mean, last time I saw the guy, he still looked pretty much the same. He's got some really good genes. But that's just my take. Once again, we haven't even seen a trailer to this thing yet. Apparently they're gearing up for a trailer. We'll see. Maybe it'll work, but I'm not thrilled about this that I read here. I wonder if they're going to... They better have like a updated remix of the Train song from the first one. The first Space Jam, by the way, had an awesome soundtrack. Check it out. It's super 90s. Like lots of like bass boys, like the bass music. What was it? I can't remember the groups, but like all those like bass CDs and stuff you could get back in the 90s. It's a lot of that music, like the Train song, like "Come on everybody, doo doo, ride that train." That song. Yeah, I listened to the shit out of that. I had that CD. I think I had the tape. I don't remember. I had the soundtrack. Listened the hell out of it. But yeah, the first one, good time. I still love it till this day, even though I don't know anything about basketball. This one, I don't know yet. I'm not as excited about it, that's for sure, because LeBron James is just, I mean, I know the name. I know he's a basketball player. He's going to have to go a little bit of an extra mile than Jordan did, I feel like, to really capture those of us who don't follow the sport and don't really know much about him. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, who the hell am I? Nobody really, but that's where I'm at it on it. And those of you that are really looking forward to this, though, I guess you don't have long to wait, and I hope you like LeBron James more than Michael Jordan. The last story of the night is just a little kind of an informational thing, and actually this has actually given us two pieces of information I was not aware of, and we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons real quick. Now, before you leave, I don't know much about Dungeons and Dragons. I was never into it. It wasn't my thing. Nothing against it, but it just wasn't my thing, which is weird, because I knew a lot of people that were into it. I'm a huge like Lord of the Rings. I love fantasy, so it's weird that I never got into it. I don't know. But they're apparently making another movie. Now, I reported, I think it was my first podcast I did about how they were working on a TV show, and it was coming to us from the creator of John Wick, I believe it was, which they reference here in this article. But this article is actually about the movie, the forthcoming movie that they're working on as well. Whether they are connected or not, I have no idea. But let's jump right into this article real quick, and we'll discuss, because there's a few little details they throw in here to let us know how it's going down so far. The Dungeons and Dragons movie cast has added some more familiar names. Chris Pine is already leading a cast that includes Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, and Reggie Jean Page. And now It breakout Sophia Lillis and Hugh Grant are both on board as well. While we don't know who the majority of these actors are playing, it's been revealed that Hugh Grant will play the film's villain. I think that's really cool. Hugh Grant, I think, could do a really good, depending on how they depict it, I think he could be a really good fantasy-esque villain. So I could see that. I can see that. I can absolutely see that. But we'll see. Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, who co-wrote Spider-Man Homecoming and directed the surprisingly great comedy Game Night, will write and direct the film for Paramount and E1. The film adaptation is described as a subversive approach to the game. Whatever the fuck that means. In addition to the new Dungeons & Dragons movie, E1 is also developing a Dungeons & Dragons TV show, with John Wick franchise director Derek Kolstad handling the script. On top of that, E1 is said to be working with and looking for multiple writers to develop various projects set in the fantasy universe. Oh, man. Well, the movie side of things, once again, I don't know a ton about Dungeons & Dragons. I know it's fantasy-based. Dragons, dungeons, swords, that kind of thing. And I'm always down for that. So whether this will be good or not, I like Chris Pine. Michelle Rodriguez, I like her, but she is very hit or miss with her roles. And everybody else is just kind of... I mean, Hugh Grant's on board, and say what you will about the guy. He typically joins in on at least quality projects. to varying degrees. So we'll find out. I could totally see him as a villain, as I mentioned a moment ago. So that I think that they could have some real fun with that, and I hope that they do. As far as like the writer and director of this, says that they wrote Spider-Man Homecoming. I think Spider-Man Homecoming was a good time. I enjoyed that movie. I've only seen part of Game Night, and I remember it being pretty good. It's the one with Steve Carell and Tina Fey. Is it Tina Fey? I don't know. But I remember it seeming pretty funny. I think there's a cameo with Mark Wahlberg in it that was probably pretty funny, or from what I remember was pretty funny. Maybe I'm thinking about a different movie. I don't know. But apparently it was a surprisingly great comedy according to this article, so there's that. And they're writing and directing. So the movie seems like it has everything going for it at the moment, and I think that it could be a good time. Clearly, this series has been around for a long time. So there's a lot of lore for them to fall back on, and hopefully they just do respect to the source material. I won't know if they are or not because I'm not familiar enough with Dungeons and Dragons to say either way. But hopefully those that are familiar with it, those that love some Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop gaming will, feel as if they are treating their beloved property well. I don't understand what a subversive approach to the game is when they're describing the film adaptation. It sounds like PR speech to me because it's not really saying anything at all. So we'll see there. Not a lot of details, but granted, I think that they are still. I think the writing part's done because they're casting actual people, but it's in pre-production still. So we're probably at least a good year and a half away from this thing, unless they fast track it or something. So we'll find out in about a year and a half or so, or whenever the fuck it's coming out, and until we get some more information on it. Now, this bottom part here that I read about. They're looking for more people to develop various projects set in the fantasy universe. I think a lot of that is probably contingent on this movie or the show, whichever comes first. I think that they're getting things ready, so if one of these is a runaway hit, or if it's a big hit, that they can just push all this other stuff into production, which kind of scares me because I feel like they're running the risk of possibly oversaturating the market. Too much of a good thing can turn bad real quick. And they would definitely be able to do that. I mean, they got tons of lore to fall back on, lots of stories to tell that have already been told within that lore. And my understanding is that the lore of Dungeons and Dragons is very deep. So there's tons of stuff to pull from there, and I just hope that they don't have a good thing starting out and then just run it into the ground. Which, I mean, nobody in Hollywood would ever do that, right? But Dungeons and Dragons, not just the TV show now. Big movie coming with big actors and big directors coming soon. So let me switch over here to the chat and talk to you guys, and then we will get into our very last story, one that I'm excited to talk about and give my thoughts on. And we'll see where we're at after that. Man, not a talkative bunch tonight. Antonio said, still here, bro. On the phone with my bro from MN. Is MN Minnesota? No. MI is Michigan. Maine? Maine is MA, right? Man, I'm real rusty on my abbreviations there. I think it's Minnesota. Or is that MS? No, MS is Mississippi, right? I don't fucking know. There's too many M states in this country. My real bro. You're my real bro too. You too, Antonio. But yeah, what do you guys think about any Dungeons and Dragons fans out there? I mean, I feel like Dungeons and Dragons was really big like in the 80s, maybe a little bit of the 90s, but it's really fallen off over the past few decades. Like, you don't really hear about people really being hardcore into it. I think the most Dungeons and Dragons thing I've played, I guess, there was a video game I think it's based on Dungeons and Dragons. There's a video game I played like early. I want to say it was on the first Xbox, the original OG Xbox, called Baldur's Gate. I really enjoyed that game. I think that was based in the Dungeons and Dragons world, if I'm correct. I could be wrong, but I think it was. Really fun game, though. It was really cool. If not, it's that kind of game either way. It's an isometric game, and me, myself, I typically shy away from isometric games. They're just not something about them, not my thing. But that, and there was a couple other ones that came around. One called Hunter. Not Dungeons and Dragons, but it was an isometric game. And I enjoyed that one, too. Speaking of games, we're going to talk about some games here in just a minute. Well, some gaming news. I know that this is usually a more movie-based podcast, and it always will be as my channel is, but this is some really big gaming news that we're going to jump into here in just a moment that broke today. And as I said earlier in the show, anybody who has their head or ear to the ground knows exactly what I'm about to talk about. But do you know what aspect of it I'm going to talk about? All right, let's jump into this last story of the night and get you guys' ideas on it. Man, I'm kind of worn out tonight. I sat down here. I've been running 1,000 miles a hour today trying to get all this set up. I was at work putting the show together and stuff, like minimizing things if somebody walked by or something, so they didn't see me doing that stuff in a little office and everything. And because I'm so behind this week. All right. Sat down and I started to get kind of comfortable. All these lights kind of warming me up. Woo. Need to wake up. All right. Home stretch here, mofos. Let's do my little switches here or there. There, we're good. We're good. Oop, nope. All right, here we go. I did an extra story this week. I typically only like to do 8, no more than 8 stories, but this one was just too big. I had to talk about it. And I didn't want to delete any of the others. I guess I probably could have gotten rid of that Dungeons and Dragons thing, huh? Or maybe the Lee Daniels one. I don't know. Either way. Yeah. So we got one more story this week. One more than I usually do on this podcast, but I wanted to talk about this because this is just some huge news that just broke. And while this channel and this podcast is typically mostly movie-based, this is some gaming news, but it is some really big news, and it has implications that do far reach beyond gaming. And we're talking about some major moves in that industry. And I just want to talk about real quick something that happened I guess it's been about 5 or 6 months now. Somewhere around in there. I think it was November. No, it was September. A merger was announced, and it is finally closed. And I am, of course, talking about the Microsoft Bethesda merger. Well, not merger, really. Microsoft fucking bought them. It's not a merger. It's a takeover or a acquisition. That's what they're calling it, an acquisition. Microsoft announced months ago that they were going to be, had intent to purchase Bethesda Softworks, and today it was announced that it's all done. It's taken care of. They now own Bethesda. Bethesda is owned by Microsoft and is part of Xbox officially now. So yeah, they announced today that they are officially part of the Xbox family. They got like a little trailer and everything they did. I'm not going to show that here. It doesn't really show a lot. It doesn't show anything. It's just kind of like shows a bunch of Bethesda's old, stuff that they've done through the years and saying welcome to the family, etc., etc. It's a neat little 2.5 minute long thing or 3 minute long video. Doesn't really give us any extra information, but there's a lot of stuff that has come up about this. But the main thing that everybody's has been wondering since this first got announced and was hoping they would get an answer to today, is exclusivity. Does this mean that everything Bethesda makes, which is quite a bit of stuff, quite a lot of big titles, does this mean it's all going to only be on the Xbox now? Well, no, it does not. But that doesn't mean it. The big question really is is it going to the PlayStation? Is Sony going to get Bethesda stuff still? And I don't think it's quite as easy as a yes or no. And there's a lot of ways this could go. But let's read a little bit what they got to say here. And then we'll read in between the lines a bit and see if we can come up with something. It says, this is an exciting day. This is coming directly from Microsoft. I think Phil Spencer wrote this. Well, he posted it at least. I don't know if he wrote it, but says, this is an exciting day for Xbox. Today we officially complete the acquisition of ZeniMax Media, parent company of Bethesda Softworks. It's an honor to welcome the 8 incredibly talented development studios: Bethesda Game Studios, ID Software, ZeniMax Online Studios, Arcane Machine Games, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, and Roundhouse Studios, and their passionate global communities to the Xbox family. Now that everything is official, we can begin working together to deliver more great games to everyone at every step, building toward this moment. I've been inspired and motivated by the creativity, insight, and community-first approach of the talented people at Bethesda. Our goal is to give these teams the best foundation for doing their greatest work and to learn from them as we continue to build Xbox into an inclusive platform for all players. This is the next step in building an industry-leading first-party studio team, a commitment we have to our Xbox community. With the addition of the Bethesda creative teams, gamers should know the Xbox consoles, PC, and Game Pass will be the best place to experience new Bethesda games, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. There's a lot more, but the stuff I want to talk about is in all of that, especially that last part. Okay, so just a recap real quick. Microsoft didn't just buy Bethesda. I mean, they did just buy them. But they bought them for, this is the second largest entertainment acquisition in history. They paid approximately $7.5 billion, that's billion with a B, $7.5 billion for this company, for Bethesda, or ZeniMax actually is the parent company. They own Bethesda and all that other stuff. They paid that much. That's a lot of fucking money right there, okay? That's a lot of fucking money. But it's a big, huge company they just bought with some major players in it. And we're talking about a company that does Doom and all the Doom games, Wolfenstein, Dishonored, if that's your thing, Fallout, The Elder Scrolls. And for those of you that are like, The Elder what? What's that? The Elder Scrolls is Skyrim. So that's, a lot of people just call it Skyrim. No, it's actually the Elder Scrolls. Skyrim is the Elder Scrolls 5. And lots of other big players. Those are the games. They also have a new IP they're working on called Starfield that's supposed to be the new hotness, made by the people that have made Elder Scrolls and Fallout over the years. So that's the new big thing, and everybody's wondering where that's going to go. And since they announced this, everybody's, initially everybody was like, oh, that means they're all going to be exclusive to Xbox. Now, Microsoft has not been able to comment on this, not officially comment, because when you're in the middle of buying, like a big buy thing like this, or a buyout like this, and you're awaiting approval, because when you're a big, huge company making such a big purchase, you have to be approved by regulatory commissions to make this purchase, so that you don't, in their words, become a monopoly. But they had to wait for approval, and until they actually buy them, acquire them officially, they can't comment. They can't say, yes, we're going to make everything exclusive or not. They can't say anything about business workings, because then it could change how some of the people at the business that is not owned by them yet operate. But it can also change how it could devalue the company, because some people might say, oh, because of this, we're going to not, lots of things. It is illegal to say anything. Now, as of today, or whenever this officially went through, some people are saying it was over the weekend, but as of today, at least, they can say whatever they want. Microsoft wholly owns them now. So everybody's wanting to know, are they going to PlayStation or are they not? Now, there's a couple of interesting things here. Some of this stuff has been said before. Most, if not all of it, has been. First of all, the question itself. Why is it being asked? The question I pose is, if for somehow Sony acquired Bethesda instead of Microsoft, if they came out and said Sony is purchasing Bethesda, would there be a question? Would people be saying, well, is Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, etc., etc., is that still going to come to Xbox? No, they would not. It would not even be a question. Everybody would automatically know, well, I got to get a PlayStation if I want to play those because they're not going anywhere else. So why does everyone think, oh, well, Microsoft got them, Xbox has them. It even says on there, Bethesda joins Xbox. They have it, so maybe it'll still come. There's a few different reasons for this. First of all, it's because Microsoft has been known to release some of their platform or some of their IPs on competitors' consoles. However, with the exception of, I think it's Ori and the Blind Forest, which was one of their properties, and maybe the second, I don't know about the second one. They released that on a Switch. And then Cuphead as well. But Cuphead's not made by Microsoft. It was published maybe? I can't remember. They didn't make it. But it's still one of their properties because of that. Or at least they have a stake in it. That was released on at least the Switch, if not the PS4. Now the big one that everybody points to is Minecraft. Minecraft is on everything. Microsoft owns Minecraft. They bought Mojang, the people that own Minecraft or owned Minecraft, years ago for a huge, obscene amount of money then too. And it's paid off. Apparently that one, which all the insane amount of money they spent for, I think it was like $2 billion or something like that. It was a lot. They bought the company, but essentially they were buying one game. And everybody thought they were crazy, but according to them, it paid for itself within a year. And that was a lot of money. And that's one game. Now, yeah, it was on multiple consoles, multiple places. It's everywhere. But I don't think that means that all these games are going to be coming to multiple. That does not mean necessarily. I'm not saying that they won't continue to be multi-platform to a degree, but I don't think that Minecraft means that. Minecraft was already on Sony system, Nintendo system. It was already everywhere. It was already distributed to every system that was currently available when it was bought by Microsoft. I think that was Microsoft just being like, hey, it's already there. We're not going to take it off. We're not going to necessarily give you any more. But we'll update it like normal. We're not going to take it from you. And that's Microsoft and their mindset over the last generation of just being more inclusive, if you will. They're not trying to screw anybody over. Some of the other companies, honestly, that's their mindset has been the opposite. Regardless if you like them or not, the fact that I am more of an Xbox fan, admittedly, but I don't have anything against any of the companies or I don't worship any of these pieces of plastic that they sell us. I'm not a fanboy for them, hardcore. I don't hate Sony just because I'm more of an Xbox player. I just prefer their ecosystem and the things that they release. But Sony is much more exclusives, because that's how they're trying to build value for their for their console. I think in the long run, though, that's a bad move. Not necessarily the exclusives, but the fact that they're putting all their eggs in that basket. Because beyond the exclusives, there's nothing else that they have above the rest. And that's not a dig at them, that's just a fact. There's nothing else that the PlayStation has, really. Like big things that everybody else doesn't have. They have their exclusives and they hold on to those. That's a problem, because eventually we're going to get away from all that. Like it or not, cloud gaming and the such and things like that, being able to play anywhere, however you want, whenever you want, that's a thing. They have no infrastructure for that. They have no plan, or they have no plan that we know of for that. No real plan that works. Microsoft does. The whole games as a service thing, like the Game Pass. As of now, at least, they have nothing for that. And even if they release something today, they're still years behind. That is where we're inevitably going. People are very much more interested in paying a flat rate and getting all their games that way, and not having to pay individually for games and go to like all these different. People are moving away from that. They don't really want to have to do all that. And Microsoft is preparing for that, and they're ready for that. I don't think Sony is. So while this exclusive question is kind of out there, and I think people, that's a very archaic, it's an old school gaming way of going about it, because that's always kind of been the thing, exclusives. But I'm kind of wondering how long is that going to last. Now, does that mean that Microsoft is going to put everything, just because of these things I mentioned a minute ago, does that mean I'm thinking that Microsoft is going to continue letting Bethesda be just third party, just like put their stuff on everywhere? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's as easy as just like they're going to come out and say no, though. And that's what people are wanting. People are wanting Microsoft to, and they have a show they're doing on Thursday, which is 2 days from now. And everybody's thinking, oh, that's when they're going to tell us. They're going to come out and say everything Bethesda has, besides I think there's 2 games that they already had contracts signed to go, 2 smaller games that are going to PlayStation. And Microsoft has already said that we'll honor those contracts. They don't have to, by the way, but they said that they will. Because they could just pay a fine and get out of that, by the way. I don't think they're going to come out on stage and say everything besides those 2 is exclusive from now on. But they could. Me, myself, personally, I don't care. Because I will get to play them, and they will all be in Game Pass, which means nothing's free, but you know what I mean by free. I subscribe to Game Pass, so I will be able to play all these games for free the day that they come out. I don't have to go pay extra money to buy Starfield or whatever. I think that they could go, and Phil Spencer's made it very clear. And I think Phil Spencer's a pretty cool guy, and he seems pretty like, hey, let's all get along, kumbaya, and have a good time. But I think you could tell that when all this was first announced, many of the more hardcore PlayStation fans, fanboys, which they're on both sides, by the way, I'm not just saying them, but they were talking a bunch of smack saying, oh, they'll never go fully exclusive. Xbox can't go fully exclusive because they need PlayStation. They kept saying, you need PlayStation's money. You need those games to be... You've lost your fucking mind if you think Microsoft needs any of that money. They don't. Will they take it or not? Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not an industry insider. I have no fucking clue. But if you have lost your goddamn mind, if you think that Microsoft needs that money, their profits, not how much money the money they put in the bank was more than twice as much as this acquisition just for last year. Because Microsoft makes a whole lot more, just like Sony, makes a whole lot more stuff than just the Xbox. Microsoft is an extremely profitable company. They don't need that money. I mean, yeah, they want to make money on this deal. That's why they bought them ultimately. And I got to wonder, what was their idea behind buying it? Is their idea just because, hey, we see this very profitable company and we're going to buy them, bring them on, and we're going to get that money? Or was their idea, we're going to get this, make them exclusive to bring people to our ecosystem? I think that's more of I think the opportunity to bring people over to their ecosystem, and when I say ecosystem, I don't necessarily mean the Xbox, but just Microsoft's Game Pass. Game Pass is where they really want you to go. I think they are going to use this to try and get people to come to Game Pass. Now, whether that is through them saying, yeah, some of these games will be on other systems, but you come here to Game Pass and you get it day one, no extra charge, and you get it the best way and the most way, and you get the most recent updates or blah, blah, blah. I honestly think, and once again, I don't know. I mean, it could go either way, but I honestly think I think eventually, yes, I think the vast majority, if not all of Bethesda's stuff will end up being exclusive to Microsoft's platforms, given the way things are right now, unless some other major shift happens. I think that, yes, they will eventually go that way. I do not think that there's going to be a day they just cut it all off. I think that there will be some things, because they said that, and this is the thing that everybody's getting hung up on, this line they say here where they say, new Bethesda, okay, including some new titles in the future that will be exclusive to Xbox and PC players. What is some? I mean, some could be most, it could be half, it could be almost all. Some could be everything except for those 2 games that we've already promised that we wouldn't break a contract on. that could be some. Some could be everything. Me, myself, personally, I think that we're not going to get that definitive answer anytime soon. I think it's going to just happen over time, and then we accept the fact that, okay, here's where it is. I think, if I had to guess, their biggest properties, those will be exclusive. I think they're going to make those exclusive at best, and I could be wrong once again, but at best I would say timed exclusive to where maybe they'll come to the other platform, the PlayStation, months, if not years later. I honestly don't even think that. I think that they will just be exclusive. I think Doom, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and definitely Starfield, because that's a totally new one. That one I can almost guarantee will be exclusive. But all the other ones, I think all the big heavy hitters they have will be going to the Xbox only. And maybe some of their smaller ones they may put on PlayStation. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if they said everything's exclusive. And I really don't think that they would have. I think that there would be a chance that they would give a little. But I feel like PlayStation's been playing that hardball with the exclusive game. Not really just making their own games, but going and getting deals signed with like the Final Fantasy stuff and like the Spider-Man for Avengers and just many other things where they're like trying to gate things off. They're gatekeeping. And I do wonder, I mean, Microsoft just spent $7.5 billion. I mean, yeah, they could put it on the PlayStation as well and make money. But to me, it makes more sense to just put it only on your console so you can be like, hey, because they ultimately want you in Game Pass. Game Pass is their ecosystem. But I'm sure they'd love if you buy an Xbox. But if you're not going to buy an Xbox, they want you to have a PC. They're going to put it on PC. They're going to put most of these things, I think, on PC and on Xbox only. And then it's going to drive people to their platform. Because people want Doom. People want Fallout. People are going to want Starfield, most likely. And people definitely want the follow-up to Skyrim. Because Skyrim, out of all of those, even though it is the Elder Scrolls, I'm going to call it Skyrim here because that's what everybody refers to the series as now. A lot of people do. That is a game that has mass appeal. People hear the sequel to Skyrim because that's how they're going to market it. They'll call it the Elder Scrolls 6. But they're going to also say the sequel to Skyrim because that's how a lot of people know it. I think that will bring in a lot of people. I hear tons of people over the years that are just like your casual gamers. They know Skyrim. They love Skyrim. They want more of that. And they're going to use that as a bargaining chip. I would be willing to bet. The other ones, I don't know, up in the air, maybe, maybe not. I don't think that the reasoning people think that this exclusivity won't happen are necessarily valid. But of course, it's been out there for so long, I have to consider it. But I'd be willing to bet Skyrim will be Xbox only. Well, Xbox and PC only. Because that's a big one that I feel like will drive business to them. That is one that could be a console seller that would get people to switch or at least buy. So I don't think they care if you're playing PlayStation. They just want you playing in their ecosystem as well. Who knows? I'm not an analyst. I'm not an insider or anything like that. That's just this guy who's sitting in his living room putting a podcast together. His opinion. I am a fan of Xbox. Either way, I win because I get to play them. It's just, I don't care if other people play it. That's the other thing, is a lot of these people, especially when it comes to the exclusive side of things, they get all bent out of shape about other people playing their exclusives. I don't give a fuck if you play them. I don't give a shit. You playing exclusives, you playing games that the company that I favor more, which nothing against the other ones, I don't care, but I had to pick one, I prefer their product. If their competitor, the fans of their competitor's machine, gets to play those same games, I don't care. Good for you. It does not affect the fact that I get to play them any more or less. I mean, I don't give a shit what you do. So I don't understand that whole mentality of people getting out. I mean, you go online, just search it, man. People losing their fucking minds. Recently, some of Sony's exclusives have been ported to PC or been announced to be ported to PC. They are losing their fucking minds over that shit. I'm like, what the hell, man? Who cares? More people are playing your games. And they're like, well, it devalues. I mean, everybody keeps saying it devalues the PlayStation. It devalues the PlayStation. What's the point in buying a PlayStation at that point? If you're asking that question, that's a problem. I mean, that's the thing. Because exclusives or not, I wanted this console that I bought and the other consoles I bought for more than just, yes, for games mainly. I can still play those games. Those games are still there, even if other people can play them. I mean, they're saying then why not just buy an Xbox then? I don't know. It's your preference, I guess. I mean, if you're asking that, then maybe you need to look in the mirror and ask, why do I love that? Why do I love this thing so much? But that's just my preference. Just my thoughts we're not going to get into that because then you get into console wars, which is the stupidest fucking thing ever. But I don't know, man. Everybody just be cool and happy about it. Are they going to go exclusive? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But what I do think is I don't think we're going to get a definitive across-the-board answer anytime soon. I think it's going to be a slow trickle as games come out. I think we'll get more of an answer, a roundabout answer to a lot of it at E3 or E3 time when they have these Bethesda and Microsoft shows they're going to do. And I think we'll see a lot of exclusive, only on Xbox, or just no PlayStation symbol. I think that's how we're going to get a lot of it. Now, how much are they willing to release on that console or not? I don't know. Does that sum mean just the ones they've already committed to? Who the fuck knows, man? I mean, people are real bent out of shape about this shit. But at the end of the day, if they announce tomorrow that every single fucking Bethesda game they have will be going to every console ever made, regardless of what the manufacturer is, that does not take away from the enjoyment I will have with those games either way. So I don't care. Go ahead. I'm going to enjoy them on my Xbox Series X, and I will have just as good a time that way as if PlayStation fans did or did not have access to them. I don't care. Play more games. Have a good time with them. I hope you enjoy on whatever console you play it on. I don't get it. Who the fuck cares, man? I mean, I think it's great that Bethesda they're part of this massive company that I do enjoy, and now hopefully it affords them more opportunity to make more quality games, and hopefully they're not as buggy when they release them. Because come on, Bethesda, you kind of known for one thing, and that's it. But there it is, guys. Bethesda, they're part of Microsoft now. So even if you don't like it, it is what it is. Got to live with it. This is a trailer for a movie called Forget Everything and Run. It just came out, as far as I can tell, the trailer just came out yesterday or today. It just came out here recently. I read the synopsis. I don't really know anything about it. I think it's a post-apocalyptic film about an outbreak, of course, and I think there's some zombies included. I just thought it seemed kind of interesting. I'm going to check it out here for the first time, give you my little reaction. It's not a very long trailer. It's only about a minute and 40 some odd seconds, and see if this is going to be worth checking out when it comes out here soon. So here is the trailer for Forget Everything and Run.
After the outbreak, containment was no longer an option. Now it's just us.
I wonder, are those zombies? Or is it just like an infected crazy?
We've already searched and siphoned everything within a 25-mile radius.
Nobody's
coming,
suspect.
Ethan. They've given up.
That snow in the foreground looks a little...
Not enough?
I'm not sure about it.
The rifle?
Same.
They're running out of supplies. Fuck, is that guy got like a fucking crate on?
Get out! Dad! Get inside!
Oh, is it gonna be like a
Careful now.
whole the humans are the real monsters thing?
You need to rely on one another.
Where's your camp?
They're raiders or something?
Ain't no map gonna get you there. What you need is someone who knows the way.
Curing the infection is a case-by-case basis.
50-50. Cure or kill. I remember.
That guy looks familiar, but I can't tell what he's from.
The zones, where are they starting from?
Where?
South. It attracts the infected. They're drawn to the heat. That's why you're here,
So
right?
they're not zombies,
Hide
they're
it.
infected. Oh, he's dead.
Surviving.
Fear, forget everything and run. Ha ha ha. Okay. I get it. Well, that was Forget Everything and Run, or as I found out in the end of the trailer, Fear. I don't know how they're going to market the film, if it's actually going to go by that moniker or not. But I mean, that was pretty cool. I mean, there's nothing about it that like blew me away. But I mean, it looked like it could have been cool. There were a couple of shots that it looked like they added CGI snow in. Maybe it was just the way it was shot. I don't know, but it looked like, I mean, it was clearly snow on the ground, but it looked like they added like snowflakes in that didn't look real. So that was a little off-putting to me. Maybe I was just looking into that wrong. And I mean, but everything else looked pretty good. It looked mainly practical. It looked like kind of like I bet it's going to be, zombie apocalypse or infected apocalypse or something like that. And everybody's hiding out in the woods, and these raiders or something come in and try and take their stuff or attack them or something like that. And we've seen this story before, but that's cool. I mean, that doesn't mean it can't be entertaining. And whether it will be or not, I don't know. I don't really know anything about this movie. The main character, or the main guy with the beard, he looked familiar, but I'm not sure what he's from. But I mean, it didn't look. I'm curious as to, are they going to go like all in on the violence here? Is it going to be like super bloody and gory, or is it just going to kind of be subdued? Like the trailer seems somewhat subdued. I wonder what these people, the raider looking people that come and attack them, what is it they're after? And then it looked like some other people showed up, or they had them prisoner or something like that. And one of them was wearing like a jacket, like an official jacket with like badges and stuff. So how far after the apocalypse is this? Is this years after? Is it just happened? I don't know. We're not getting a lot. I kind of like the acronym in the end, how it's called Fear Everything and Run, or Forget Everything and Run. It stands for fear. I thought that was pretty neat. I wonder if they're going to kind of go into that in the marketing and all that. But it's another zombie movie, so I mean, it's Tuesday. There's it seems like there's another when is the zombie craze going to end? I mean, we as a human race are kind of like enamored by this whole zombie craze thing that technically started back with like Night of the Living Dead, but really got re-energized around 2000 or so with or I think it was 2003 with Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later. And ever since then, it's just been zombie movies nonstop, zombie shows. Just zombies are everywhere. And you can tell a compelling story with that backdrop, but it just seems like more times than not, we get the same story over and over again. I'm hoping that this won't be. I'm hoping this will be something interesting. I do kind of like the idea of hiding out in the woods, and the apocalypse has kind of already happened, and just surviving from them. And then the whole, human beings being the real monsters and all of it with the raiders and all that. I like that. Dependent upon what direction they go with it. It could be super corny and cheesy and just have no meaning, no nothing. It's just boring. Or it could be pretty compelling. But I mean, who knows? We won't know until it comes out. It's I can't remember the exact date, but it's coming soon. It's coming like within the next month or two. But I'm interested to. It's not at the top of my list, admittedly, but when it comes around, I'll give it a watch, and hopefully it'll compel me enough to give it a review. But that's about all I could get from the trailer. It didn't give too much. It just kind of gave you a basic synopsis of, hey, zombie or infected apocalypse and people hiding out in the woods, and bad people come and try and take their shit. And that's about it. So, you know what? If they do it right, I'm down for that, and I will check it out when it comes out. So that'll about do it for episode 8 of the JARcast. As far as what I've got going on this week, later on, expect me to get back on track with my reviews after I have my new computer and editing software, and my area where my studio is and everything will be more accessible to me. So I should be on a regular review or video release schedule coming up here soon, starting tomorrow, I think. I have a review of a movie called Luz, coming up. Hawk and Rev Vampire Slayers. And I'm going to be doing, because the video game movie review series is over. However, someone did suggest some movies they wanted me to review in that were not on my list originally. I may do those, but I will definitely be having some video game movie ranking videos coming up using my scores and all the data I compiled over the past few years, past couple of years, doing those reviews into making some ultimate ranking reviews or ranking videos, maybe some top 10s, bottom 10s, everything in the middle kind of things, before I jump into my next one, which will be comic book movie reviews, and I plan on reviewing every single comic book movie ever made, not just superheroes, because there are many comic book movies out there. There are many movies out there that people didn't even know were based on comic books, but they are, and a lot of them aren't even superheroes. There's tons of comic books out there, and I hope to bring that a little bit more to light to people. Case in point, the Johnny Depp, Hugh's brother directed From Hell film about Jack the Ripper that came out about 20 years ago. It's a drama about Jack the Ripper, was actually based on a graphic novel, which a graphic novel is mainly pretty much just a comic book series put into one package. So yeah, there's going to be more than just superhero stuff and all that. It's just everything based on comic books that has been made into movies. That will be starting up soon in the next few weeks. As far as tomorrow, I will be having my regular Retro Wednesday video game stream, and this week I will be playing Sega CD games, things like Sewer Shark, Prize Fighter, Scottie Pippen Slam City, and the like the old school, not updated versions, but the OG versions. I'm compiling those as we speak, and hopefully I'll have quite a few of them to kind of go through and just see some of that old school FMV original goodness right there. I do have a few new things in the works for the channel right now coming up on, hopefully it'll be about time to release those. 3 things in particular that I hope to be announcing soon, and 2 of them for sure are happening. Those are actually just, they've already partially happened, they're just not totally done, and 1 is kind of up in the air as to whether I want to do it, because it is kind of a big thing and will include quite a few people. But the other 2 definitely will be getting announced here soon. Nothing massive, well, possibly massive, but nothing as of now massive, but they are some things, some changes, or some new content, new things concerning my brand and my channel. And that is about all I've got this week. I do appreciate all you guys checking this out. If you are interested in checking out the audio version, or if you are right now, as you know, you can check that out on Spotify, iTunes, Google Music, and all other major podcasting platforms out there. It's on about all of them. If there is one that you prefer that it does not show up on, let me know, and I will do everything I can to get the JARcast on there. It's not really hard to get them on all the different ones. So just let me know. Shoot me a message on Twitter or here on YouTube, and I'd be more than happy to do that. And as usual, we will be back next week with episode 9. We are coming up on that 10th episode here soon, but I will be back with episode 9 next week with all the movie news that we have of this upcoming week, and hopefully we have some really interesting stuff to go over like we did this week. Per usual, I appreciate it, all you guys, for hanging out with me for a little while and talking movies and a little bit of games, and hope you guys have a great week. Thanks. Peace.